So if I may just for a moment, just give you a little bit of background about myself. You name the industry, I've been in it. I've put butts in seats. Probably going, yeah, butts in seats. Academia. So one of the things that I did for Golden Gate University and Dojo College was to recruit students. To recruit students in various programs like Fire Technology, Police Academy, Vet Tech, Laser Optics, Photonics, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with that program, but I'll tell you about it later. And also creating an undergraduate program for the technical people at Hewlett-Packard, because they discovered that they had all the technical skills, but they didn't have skills, the right brain skills, the behavioral skills to balance it out, because HP technical people had to now step into selling their solutions. Exactly. So I've also put bodies in beds. I was marketing director for a psych hospital, Sierra Vista, in the south area of Bruceville. And so my job was, when a new medical director came in to connect with that hospital, and my job was to teach him how to create a private practice. So the skills, and jump in. I mean, if you can identify, one thing that I noticed immediately when I walked in and met with Mike, something that came up for me was Eric, energy. That's what came up for me. That was my first impression. That was my first impression of you.
This will mean more to us than it means to Monica, but when I think of Eric, I think of Earth, because he's the guy that keeps me grounded.
Beautiful.
That when I don't know what to do, when I feel like I'm out of control, I go to Eric, and he brings me back to Earth. That's what he does.
Perfect. Would you say that's true about him?
No, I'm not.
Well, but
Yes. Okay.
I don't want to go there.
Okay.
He's and you are. I mean that. In the aspect that somebody that's living to their passion, and happy, and Justin is truly jolly, whether when he's doing martial arts, whether it's Kempo or Yoshinkan or whatever else, more than anybody that I know, Justin has a passion for what we do. So if your name was Paul, I would say passion, but you're not. So you're Justin, so you're jolly because of your passion.
Okay. And so as we uncover this word, I want you to write it next to your name. With your, I want you to put it on your tent card with a marker. Okay.
Like everybody knows my name.
That's right.
Okay.
So while Mike is doing his, Annie?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that.
I'm glad you didn't say honest. I've been thinking about this a lot, so I'll start. And I already have 3 things written down.
How about just one?
One? Okay.
Yes.
All right. As a business owner, as a person, I would like all of us, as members of my team, people that I rely on, to shoulder the burden of the responsibility of taking the school and guiding the students in the art of 5-animal Kempo. I would really appreciate your commitment, as well as give you my commitment, if we could agree to always strive to give more than we take.
Well said. Something else, if I may offer this. Sometimes you're not always going to agree with the decision of a policy and procedure. We have to agree to disagree. However, when it's all said and done, the message that you are communicating to the parents and the students must be consistent. So somehow everyone has to get on the wagon and show up and sing the same song, internally and externally. Because what happens is if there's a disconnect, you confuse your clients. Does that help?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. That
It
was
helps
great.
a lot. We have kind of a unique position that there's a certain amount of flexibility. It's not like there's exact policies like, say, in banking or in advertising. Since we have to deal with different teaching personalities, different body types, we also have to be able to, when we're coming up with teaching strategies, so again, specific techniques, for example, everybody teaches a little bit different, you know. But Justin said this, it's one of the things you have to deal with is how to handle that. And I think I've gotten pretty good at that. I say, well, yeah, that's fine. What I'm showing you is that this can be done a couple of ways. I think that's probably what our agreement needs to be, instead of chipping in stone because it's not going to work that way. It's like the unique nature of our business and teaching in general. You have to be very flexible and adapt to the customer. Be flexible.
Be flexible.
But there has to also be.
We don't want to go into that person as well.
Yeah, there can't be a, well, he said this.
Perfect.
And so I always try and deflect that, but I think.
Okay, so we're getting, and what we might want to do is, I want somebody to start a separate piece of paper on the back, and I want you to put that on the parking lot. So style of instruction, communication, that's a whole other separate issue from what we're doing here. We're getting into the tactical, I don't want to, no, it's important. Put that, because that is something that we will address. So what Eric is saying is this. Everyone shows up in their authenticity and integrity and style in a different way. That's why you're all unique and different. It needs to be that way. The benefit and the value to the parents and the students is when Mrs. Green says to you, well, gosh, Eric didn't do it that way, and Mike did it a different way. The benefit and the value, Mrs. Green, is you are getting huge value because you are being exposed to different styles of instruction. And you're actually ending up with a greater value and benefit because each person feels comfortable to be able to share their style with your son. You are getting, Mrs. Green, you're getting more value for your son than if you heard it one way. How does that sound, Mrs. Green?
I've had this conversation with Mrs. Green.
And she said it sounded confusing.
No. Clearly, there is a Mrs. Green.
Oh, gosh.
And her son, there's a real Mrs. Green.
Okay.
And her son is training with us, and they just went through an instructor change. And I had this discussion with them. So,
How does it go?
pretty well. I mean, that, and I didn't know, but I basically said
Excellent. So what we're saying, here's an example of open, clear communication, and each one of you, this is messaging. This is what I'm going to be teaching you. You've all got to be, you can use a different choice of words, but you've got to be able to communicate the same meaning. You can use different words. The meaning has to be the same. The meaning has to be the same because this is what flows into your brand.